We haven't been on the show, guys, in Taberne Talks since May of 2025. We took a little hiatus over the summer, and then it rolled into the fall. So welcome back. I wanted to come on to start it off again. I wanted to warm everything back up. We've had a lot of people on the show over the last 2 years or a year and a half. We hit just about 50 shows. So I'm looking for another 50 here, right? So, the last show that we had on, I had Dan Kim on. Shout out to Dan. He brought the fire. It was a great episode. And I wanted to really start off there and really pick up where we left off, okay? Over the last year and a half, I've had some of the best on the show, okay? Some of the best realtors that I possibly handpicked myself that I thought were really, really good. And these were people that are frontline. This is what I'm looking for. So if you're listening, which I hope you are, if you want to come on this show, I want you to bring the heat, right? I want you to tell me exactly what's going on the street. Okay. And I've had these realtors tell me, all the tips and tricks and things like that they're doing. And I think for newer realtors, I ran into a lot of newer realtors who were, really telling me that they were watching the show. They got a lot of tips from the show. So I think as we move forward into 2026, I'm really going to try to bring that content to you and continue. Okay. I want to give a shout out to some of the biggest names that were on here. So I figured if I named just a few of them, it would be wrong. So I said, let's just go down the list and get an idea of where we were. Mike Giangiordano, Jim Roach, Chris Summers, Stephanie Arroyo, the first four that were on my show from the beginning. Jordan Katz, Pat Gorman, Marco DeGabriel, Tori Schroff. Shout out to Tori, of course. Dan Avention, Basha Bubel, Adam Wright. We had a whole crew, Kara Sachs, Larry Brown, Alex Frederick, the Rookie of the Year. I don't know if you remember that show. Rada Ron, Rookie of the Year. Two Rookies of the Year back-to-back. Connor Koski, Dan Kim, of course. Michelle Ionella came on the show. Jeff Gallo, the man. My sidekick, Anthony Lombardi, which will be on the show next week. We're bringing him back. John Mendez, Martino Picarillo, Lindsay Good. Great show. Brian Capone, shout out to you. Thanks for coming on. Elma Guarandini. You remember her, of course. She started her own podcast. Becky Bostic, Jay Duran, which was a great show. I wish you could go back and watch Jay because he really brought the fire that day. Marty Dunlap, Rich Cassell, Capri DeSecker, Nick Giganti, Mark Angelo, another sidekick of mine in movement. And, of course, Jackie Kramer rounded it out. So we had a lot of big names and a lot of people that are influential in this business, and I want to continue it. But I wanted to come on myself this week to really tell you guys exactly what I see going on out there in my own eyes over the last 6 months. And then we'll begin the interviews as we go on from there. Okay. So I wrote down a lot of stuff because I'm a little rusty. So give me some slack this week. And I'll loosen up as we go along. All right. So over the last 6 months, I got a lot of deals, right? 30% of the deals that I picked up in this market were deals that were saved by other lenders who shot down the deal. Okay. So there's a lot of problems on the street that I'm seeing. A lot of lenders that still don't belong. A lot of people that are being pre-approved that shouldn't be pre-approved. So 30% was a huge pickup for me of lenders that said, well, no, we can't do the deal. And then the realtor brought it to me and I got the deal done. We saved over $120,000 in commissions on realtors over the last 6 months. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in my agents' pockets that they didn't have. Here's the deal. Let's really cut to the chase. You need a good lender, right? I posted something on Facebook this past week where you have to have a good lender and realtor team. I've pitched this over the last year and a half or 2 years, and that's why I've had so many good realtors on with me. You have to have a good, solid team with you right now, okay? I'm talking to some of the best, and they're telling me, Alex, 2026, if you don't have your ducks in a row and a good realtor and a good loan officer, you're not going to make it. You're not going to, it's no longer going to be just a fly by night, wing it by the skin of my teeth type of situation. You got to be ready to roll. You got to know your guidelines now. You got to know how to structure a deal. You got to know who to talk to, and you got to have the right contacts in your company in order to get the deal done. Okay. I don't want to put down anybody. I think that there's a lot of people that probably are second guessing this job right now. You know, a lot of them probably don't know the guidelines as good as they should. And I'm seeing them getting weeded out, which is a shame because I think that if you had the right mentor, you probably would stay. But I don't even think there's enough mentors right now. There's not even enough people that are willing to mentor people to come into the business. And I think that's a shame. And I think that we're seeing a lot of that. So the realtor team and local loan officer team is tight. And if you find them, like I said in my post, hold on to them tightly. Okay. Financial literacy is a big issue right now. Okay. Most renters are paying $2,500 to $3,000 a month in rent. A lot of them are paying $2,000 a month, but we're seeing a majority come to me saying my rent's going up to $2,500 a month. Did you know that you could buy a home for $2,500 a month or less? Okay. So if you're renting and you're paying $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month, it's time to really start doing your homework and saying, maybe I should be buying something instead of renting. Okay. I've sat through dinner tables of young people and they didn't even know it was possible to buy. They thought that, if I'm renting at $2,500 a month, I'll never be able to buy something. And then you look at their finances and they make good money and they have good credit. And it's like, you can do something, but there's not enough financial gurus out there to really guide these younger people on what to do. So I think as you go into 2026, find a loan officer that you will, that you like, that you can get along with, but one that will actually give you the education that you need. Like I'm doing a lot of coaching with different clients. Like I'm not coaching many loan officers anymore. I was earlier in my career. I think now I'm getting to a point where I feel like I'm coaching more of the clients that are coming to me to tell them what I think is a good way to go, what I think is a way you don't want to go. Maybe you don't want to do an adjustable rate. Maybe you don't want to pay points. Maybe the closing costs are too high at the current lender that you have. So there's a lot of things that I think you need to look at before you just pick your loan officer that you want to go with. And I'm seeing a lot of unfortunate things happen, and we get phone calls from people that, young people, and they're just completely lost. So that's a big one right now too. A few facts that still stand in this market. Okay. So these are facts that I have from the dawn of time have preached, not pitched. And I wanted to make sure that you understood them as we head into 2026. Okay. You don't need 20% down to buy a home. Okay. It is the biggest myth in this market. Still a lot of people go online and then they call me and say, well, I didn't apply for a mortgage house because I don't have 20% down. You don't need it. Okay. We're doing a lot of minimum down programs, 3% down, 0% down, VA loans, 0% down, grants. There are things out there that I see the majority of people doing, and it's like a secret. It's like, it shouldn't be a secret. 20% down is the thing of the past. If you have it, great. If you're getting a gift from your parents and they want to give it to you as your first home, great. But you don't let the anxiety of saying, I can't buy a home because I don't have 20% down. That's a complete myth. And I hear too much about it. Heading into 2026, down payments are less than going on vacation. Okay. So going on vacation is a lot of money, right? Go on a cruise, go to Florida on an island or try to go to, wherever you're going to go, Vegas for the week or whatever you want to do. It's going to cost you more money than the down payment on a house. Okay. That's what I'm seeing is that people don't realize like I'm dropping $5,000 or $10,000 on a vacation. Let's say 10 nowadays. But I could have bought a house for $7,000 down payment or a $6,000 down payment. Like that is possible. So don't let those things blind you. Another one, PMI. Everybody goes online when they're buying a house and they do these online calculators and they're like, oh, well, my mortgage payment is going to be $3,300 a month. And then they text me and they're like, I don't think I can buy this house. And I'm like, why not? I'm like, what's the problem? Well, the mortgage payment is going to be $3,300. I just went online. I went on a mortgage calculator on bankrate.com. And here I am seeing that this is too much money. And I'm like, well, where did you get the payment at? Because I'm jumping into your file now. I'm working your numbers, and it says here that based on your down payment and your credit score, your rate is this, and your payment's only going to be $3,000 a month. So where are you getting $3,300? You told me you wanted to be at $3,000. That's where we kept your budget. So why are you trying to back out now, saying the payment's $3,300? They went on an online calculator, right? And the online calculator put in there that the homeowner's insurance is $200 a month, and then they put in that the PMI is $300 a month. Right. So it's all these crazy numbers that are coming up on the online calculator. And I'm like, where's this coming from? PMI is really based on what you're putting down, what your credit score is, and what is going on as far as the whole picture, So these online calculators do not, they always overcalculate PMI. It could be PMI is at the lowest monthly increments that I see right now in all my time in mortgages. And that's a long time. Like, I don't even want to tell you what year I started. So unless you've listened to the show before, I'm sure you know, but PMI was really high in the past. Like monthly PMI was $200 or $300 a month. Now I'm seeing PMI at $60 a month, $80 a month, $100. Like it's half, if sometimes 3/4, not lower. But the problem is that these online calculators are not justifying what it truly is right now. They're just throwing out these crazy old school numbers, really not getting the true calculation or not shopping the PMI around. And here you go. They're scaring buyers away. Get away from the online calculators. Go to a true professional, right? Let them do them. That's why you're paying them, right? You're paying a loan officer to give you the numbers, and you want to make sure that you have a person that is telling you, so it doesn't scare you, right? You don't get cold feet and say, oh, I don't want to do this deal anymore. Now, I gave these people the real numbers. They were happy. They were like, okay, let's move forward. They wanted it in writing. It's fine. I type it out in the computer. We shoot an email. Here's your estimate. Have a good day. They went under contract. We close. And we got away from those online calculators, which are just a nightmare. So stay away from that. And homeowners insurance, get a quote from a real company. Don't just get homeowners insurance quote from an online. Who are they? It's like a no-name company giving you an online insurance quote that it's not even legit. It's not even close. And it's going to scare you. And then you're not going to wind up doing the deal. So take it from me. Believe me, I see it every day. And I've been talking to a lot of people off the ledge, and it's crazy. The mindset of buyers have completely changed over the last 6 months. Even when I was preaching with a lot of the realtors that I just listed, we were preaching a lot of, the mindset is this. The mindset has completely changed now. Okay, guys, we're in December of 2025, heading into December of 2026. You have to come prepared now. Okay. You have to be more informed on what you're doing. Okay. Like I said, you can't just walk into buying in a house like a fly by night. I don't know anything. I didn't do any research. There's so many moving parts now, so many different programs, so many new guidelines, new loan amounts, new down payments. I can't keep up. Okay. And I've been doing it every day. You got to really start talking about, a plan up front before you actually start investigating and buying a home. What is my budget? What do I want it to be? How much do I really want to put down? How much money do I really have in the bank? Where do I want to be? Like, what town do I want to be in? What do I want to be in a single family? I'm like, you have to really be more informed now, more than ever. Like in the past, you were able to wing it. You were just able to say, okay, well, I'm just calling a guy and I want to buy a house, and what's my payment? You got to really know a little more now. If you don't, you're going to get blindsided. I have a lot of people that go into the mortgage process and they get blindsided. They're like, oh, I didn't know all this and I didn't know all that. And, if someone's not telling you that, then you're not going to know it. And if you're not doing your research up front, you're not going to know it. And you're going to run into a huge problem getting into process. And really, it's eye-opening. Okay. So mindset's a big thing right now. I think I'm sitting down, I'm going to get clear on what I want to do. And I'm going to get clear on where I want to go and how I want this to work. And the best buyers that come to me are more informed. They're more educated, and they didn't educate they educated themselves by just doing a little reading, So it's like when you go to buy a car, you don't just walk in and say, I want to buy this car right now and have a nice day. You go online before you buy the car. You look at the car, you like the pictures, you look how, what the gas mileage is, and what different dealers and different models, and you scope the car, right? You get informed so that when you go in, these people walk in with pieces of paper. They're like, this is what I want. I printed this online. This is the kind of car I want. I want a lease for this payment. It says online I can lease. Like, they're informed. They're educated. They're ready to go. When you're going to get in a mortgage or buying a house, you should do the same thing. You should come in. This is what I want. This is what I saw. I saw this online. I saw this program. I like it. What's the payment's going to be? I already know where I want to be. Boom. Right? It makes it so much easier for you on stress, and it makes it so much easier on the loan officer on stress. So don't do your homework there. Okay. Okay. So what I'm seeing, things of people are going under contract, right? Yippee. I'm under contract. I'm buying a house. Great. And then we get all excited and we're like, let's do this. Right. And me, after 30 years of this or 20, 28 going on 29, I still get excited for the buyers that go under contract. Like, I see a lot of guys that are burned out now and they're like, oh, great. Here comes another deal. I don't want to do another deal. Still get excited. I still got that fire in me, right? I'm like, okay, let's do this. Like, these people went under contract. I call the listing agent. They tell these people that they're solid. We can do the deal. Let's do the deal and we move forward. Okay. There's still fire there. What I don't like, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, is you going under contract and then running on social media into a Facebook group and asking people's advice that you don't even know. Like, don't go under contract. Go into some Facebook group and say, I'm under contract. I need advice on this and this. And then some guy is from advice from Kentucky or wherever, right? He comes from another state or another city and he starts talking, wow, that's wrong. You should be doing this. What do you mean? All this stuff, right? It's like, no. Why are we talking to people in Facebook groups we don't even know? Why are we talking to people in our family that bought a house 20 years ago? They don't know. Yeah, they might have known, right? Or every scenario is different. Your scenario is different from what your parents were 20 years ago. Okay. Your scenario is different from what the guy in Kentucky is doing right now, buying a house. You don't know him. He might be doing 30% down and have an 800 credit score and perfect credit. He's telling you that, well, what they're telling you is wrong at the mortgage company, or what they're telling you from the realtor is wrong. They don't know your specific scenario. They don't know it. So don't let them don't go on these blind groups. And, what worked for someone doesn't necessarily work for you. Okay. Stick with the professionals. Let them tell you the deal. Okay. Every time somebody goes under contract, people call me with 16 questions. Great. I'd rather you do that, because if you don't call me with 16 questions and you go silent and then you go on these Facebook groups and they're telling you, then you come attacking me saying, well, and they're wrong. They don't know you're doing 3% down. They're doing 20% down, or they don't know you're doing 20% down, vice versa. Like, you can't trust a lot of this stuff that you see online, especially in these different groups. And everybody's a guru. Everybody knows everything. No, they don't know your scenario. Okay. I'm not saying it's not good to get advice from your dad. Your dad knows best for you, of course, but dad might not have bought a house for a long time. So Dad might not be the one to ask your specific scenario. It might be better to get a professional on the phone that you're dealing with, and then maybe conference dad in. Let's go on a conference call with dad and talk to him about, his problems or his concerns, right? And then we go over the concerns and we map out a deal with all three of us on the phone, and everybody feels better going forward. It's better than going on Facebook. Okay. And that might be, I might get a lot of flack for that. I might have people that come back to me and say, well, you're wrong, Alex. Facebook, whatever. But I'm going to tell you, the majority of the stuff that I see on there is not legit. Okay. So I just wanted to get into that. Okay. So listen, every week we're going to come out with something called the lowdown segment. Okay. It's the lowdown of what's going on, right? I'm going to blast some things out to you that are every week we're going to hit with. And when I have special guests on, we're going to hit with the lowdown segment too. And they're going to give me the lowdown. And we're going to try to really give you the top topics that I'm seeing for the week. Okay. So here we go. 69% of home sellers need a mortgage, and they don't have a loan officer that is pitching them to give them a mortgage. Okay. So 69% of home sellers need a mortgage because they're selling their house and they don't have anyone reaching out to them to ask them, do you need a mortgage on the house that you're going to buy? Period. That's a tip right there for loan officers that need business. Reach out to a home seller. and say, hey, I know you're moving. So do you have a mortgage for the house that you're buying? Because I already have a mortgage for the person that's buying your house. So you need somebody to do that mortgage. Like that is a huge one right there. Oh, good. Let's keep moving. The Fed has 94% chance of cutting rates this week. 94% chance that the Fed's going to cut the rates this week. But it probably will not affect the mortgage rates itself. How many times have you heard that? You go online, you're like, oh, the Fed cut the rate a quarter point. How come the rates didn't go down? Don't go down. The rates have already been built in, right? So if the Fed was going to cut the rate a quarter point next week, the markets have already digested that and put that into the rate already. So really, when you see that rate cut next week, you're not going to see a quarter point. It's already going to be built in there from a week before. But what's good is that it's a 94% chance that it's happening, which keeps reminding us that these rates should trickle down. Now, as we go into 2026, a lot of eyes are they going to continue to cut? I do think they're going to continue to cut. Just how much, and how fast. And, will it make sense for you to finally refinance, or will it make sense for you to finally buy a home? Inflation is staying high. And so with inflation still kind of high right now, I think it's keeping these rates in the sixes. And I really see a range of a 5.75 to a 6.25 kind of rate going into 2026, which is a healthy market. But that's a big one there too. 43% of buyers entering the market are asking for education. I just touched on that a little while ago. 43% of buyers entering the market are asking for education. They want to know. They want to go to a class. They want to talk to a loan officer on the phone. They have a list of questions. The loan officers that they're asking for don't know themselves because they're not educated in the guidelines. Okay. So 43% are raising their hands saying, hey, I want to get a mortgage. 45% or 50% of the loan officers in the business are saying, hey, I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. So they can't answer their questions because they're not educated themselves to know the guidelines. They don't know what they're doing. They don't even know how to take an application. They don't know anything. They're just the face of the business, right? They're out schmoozing everybody and drinking and partying every night, and that's great. If that's your business development plan, great. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that a lot are actually wanting to know the guidelines and the steps of buying a home. And you got to know that. Okay. So you want to be the ones that raise your hand and say, I'm one of the 40 or 50% that know what I'm talking about, and I can guide people. So that's another one there too. My final opinion on, this week on the lowdown, rates will stay in a range that's healthy for everyone in 2026. I think it's going to be a better year for buying a house because the rates will be lower. I think that there's more options. There's more people that know what they're doing, and the professionals are in the market right now because the lot did get weeded out. And I think I'm hoping to God that the rates come down to the low fives. But I don't know. I think that's going to be a stretch, and I think a healthy market will be the mid fives to the low sixes, which would be a home run. But don't quote me on that. I need a crystal ball to really know what's going on there. But that's a big one. Okay, so anyway, all right. So we're done with that. Skeletons in the closet. Okay, that's my next title. If you have skeletons in the closet, it's time to come clean. Okay. Before you enter the mortgage process, before you go under contract, it's time to come clean. Okay. I can't tell you how many deals I've had problems with over the last 6 months on things that we uncovered. We found out. We didn't know. I have a lot of realtors or sellers that call me and they're upset and they're like, how come you didn't know this up front? Listen, we catch about 99% of everything up front. We do. We catch as much as we possibly can catch. But there's always things that slip through the cracks that the buyer didn't tell us. And those are the skeletons in the closet that you have to tell us. Okay. File your tax returns. If you're going to buy a house, file your tax returns. Okay. Don't let us find out that you didn't file your tax returns. Okay. We should know that up front. You're telling us that you did. Well, you're not telling us anything. You send us your W-2s and your tax returns, and then we find out that you didn't file anything for the last couple of years. That's a problem. File your tax returns if you're going to buy a house. If you don't file your tax returns, yes, there are specific programs that can help you, but they're not going to be the best ones. They're not going to be the cream of the crop or the interest rate that you want. They're just going to be whatever the bank's going to give you because you never filed your tax returns. So beggars can't be choosers. Disclose any properties that you own outright. We know, you do an online application. We verify everything on the application. Everything is great. Then we send a loan and they do a title search and they find out that you own another property and you didn't tell us. That's a skeleton in a closet. Well, I own it outright. So why did you need to know? What do you mean? Why do we need to know? We need to know everything. I asked you up front, you have any other, you put on the application that you don't own any property, but well, that's one that I own outright. So that I didn't think that mattered because it didn't have a mortgage on it. It does matter. Everything matters because now we're blindsided, right? Now we're like, oh, they have a property that they own. We have to count the taxes against them. They have to count the insurance against them. They don't qualify anymore. And then I got to call the listing agent and the buyer's agent and let them know the deal's dead because these people don't qualify anymore. And then they asked me, well, how come you didn't know that they owned a house outright up front? Well, they did an online application. We verified everything when they never brought anything up. It wasn't caught until these are the things that I see a lot more of. And it's really disheartening. It kills the deal unless I can get a co-signer or I can find more income or they got a second job we didn't know. It's like a lot of moving parts. I see a lot of deals being restructured again and again and again right now in underwriting because the deals are so hard. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to name a name, but I talked to a very good loan officer this week, and she's very good. I've known her for a long time. She's been in the business as long as I've been, which is amazing. And she's been extremely successful and she knows her stuff and she has a good name on the street. And she was with an in-house mortgage company for a big realtor office. Okay. She just gets out this week. She quit the in-house job that she was at for the last few years and went to another company that it's more of an in-house, they inbound leads where they get, refinances and which is fine. Kudos to her. But her main thing was she was burnt. She was burned out. She was tired. She was tired of dealing with all the problems on every deal. She was tired of just the whole mess. I know that I'm speaking to you guys one-on-one right now, if you're listening, and I know it's to the heart. This is not easy right now. It's not easy. The stress of what we go through to get these deals to closing is not easy. Okay. And I know you guys are going through it because I'm going through it too. I question myself a lot. How much longer can I do this? That's what she said. How much longer can I do this? So, and with the skeletons in the closet, the whole subject of this coming out is that a lot of these things she got blindsided by and she just couldn't take the stresses anymore. And she wanted to take a step back and breathe. And that's okay. If you need to do that, sometimes you need to do that. Don't feel bad because you need to do that. She's still highly respected because she did that. And I understand what she's going through, the problems. It's not only loan officers, it's realtors too. I know that they're stressed too because I speak to them every day and they're like, this is the worst I've ever been through. It's so stressful. It's unbelievable. I can't even get one deal closed. I had 5 under contract, 4 of them fell out last month. I'm hearing a lot of that. Yeah, and it's a lot of financing issues, buyers issues where this wasn't found or that wasn't found or we had a problem here, or a home inspection killed the deal or whatever it may be. So just, try to let your loan officer know everything that's going on up front. Don't assure that buying a house in it. Okay. So I'm reading this because I wanted to make sure that I had it right. I own a house on Main Street and I own a house at 1 Main Street and I want to buy a house down the street at 5 Main Street. So it's 5 houses down from the house that I live at. You approach me and say, Alex, you become highly recommended and I want you to do the mortgage. Great. Where are you buying a house? I want to buy 5 Main Street. What are you doing with 1 Main Street? I'm continuing to live here. Okay. So 5 Main Street's going to be an investment property. No, it's a second home. A second home is not 5 houses down from where you live. Okay. It's not a second home. I've been in arguments over the last few months. I wish I could have just had a show just on that out of nowhere. Arguments. That's a second home. What do you mean? Well, I don't own any other property. So that would be a second home. So why are you thinking that, sir? Because I'm going to get a better interest rate with a second home versus an investment property. Correct? Incorrect. Number one, It's not a second home, it's an investment property. If it's 5 houses down from where you live, that's an investment property. A second home is like in the Poconos or down the shore or in a vacation type of area, in the Rehoboth Beach or, a beach in Miami or wherever. Second home is in a vacation area, the Poconos and the mountains or something like that. A second home isn't a house that's down the street from me. That's called an investment property. That's called mortgage fraud if you're trying to call it a second home. But let me really bring you the truth. The truth is that second home pricing, interest rates, is really not better than an investment property. If you're doing 25% down on an investment property and you're doing 25% down on a second home, you might be getting better interest rates or better pricing on a 25% down investment property. Okay? Because the banks would rather do an investment property and find it less risk than do a second home. They find more defaults on second homes because people just walk away from a second home versus on an investment property. People are usually getting rental income. So they're not likely to walk away from that property because you're gaining income from it, right? So it's paying their bills versus second home. Oh, okay, great. You know what? I'm tired of going to Rehoboth Beach every weekend. Let that just go. Let it go into foreclosure. Who cares? I don't make any income off of it anyway. It's just a debt for me because I got to pay the mortgage payment every month. Versus 5 Main Street down the street, I'm getting $2,000 a month in rent. I'm going to let that default. That's a nice $2,000 a month in rent I'm getting every month. So the banks know that. So they find it a higher risk on a second home versus an investment property. This is the truth. These are what mortgage loan officers are maybe not telling you. I'm telling you the truth because I got nothing to lose. Right. So that is really, but let's tell the truth up front, right? You're buying a house. Okay. I live in Philly and I'm buying a house. I'm in South Philly and I want to buy a second home in Center City. That's not a second home. Why I live in South Philly. That's not a second home. So what, you're moving to Center City, or you're buying a second home in Center City. That's a vacation area in Center City. You guys ever been to Center City recently? I don't think that's very a vacation area down there. Okay. That's not, I'm not putting people down to live down there, but I'm just saying it's not a vacation area. You're not going to go there to vacation in Center City. It's called an investment property. Now, if you live in New York, right, and you're buying a second home in Philly, that's possible. You might have family that live here in the city and you live in New York City and you buy a second home here, you're allowed to do that. That's because it's not around the corner. It's in a different city. It's in a different town. And you don't own any other property, that could be called a second home. Okay. So, I'm going on a tangent on that because I'm getting a lot of that. I'm seeing a lot of occupancy issues. Even people call them places primary residences. Let me bring you on something. There's a product that's called a DSCR loan. DSCR is no income investment property. Okay. They're very hard to get. Now, I might have a loan officer right now that's probably trashing me saying, you know what, that's wrong. I'm closing 10 DSCR loans a month. Kudos to you. Great. But don't tell me you're not stressing out on that deal. And the guidelines aren't giving you agita every time you get a loan approval from underwriting, because I know it is, because they're not easy. Just because it says it's a no income investment property doesn't mean they're not asking for anything. They are asking for a lot of things. You're seeing a lot of weird conditions pop up. It's driving people insane. I'm going to tell you why. The reason why that it's so hard to get a no investment loan DSCR is because the banks got so burned on people that were buying these investment properties, but they actually were buying them as primary residences, but doing no income. So they were beating the bank. They were lying, saying, you know what, I'm buying this as an investment property, 20% down, no income. And then we found out that they actually were buying it as a primary residence. It was too late. And then people were flipping them, right? They were buying that, and then they were acting like they were moving into that, or they would move into it, and then they'd stay there a few months, and then they'd buy another primary residence going DSCR, not really telling anybody what's going on. And they were beating the bank, okay, and not verifying income. That's why they're so tough now, because there's so much fraud and so much delinquencies and so much things that went on behind the scenes that now they've made this product a lot harder. So DSCR is not an easy loan to get. They are extremely hard to get. If someone is telling you that, just because they're no income, that they're easy to get, you're wrong. Okay. Okay. So one other thing I'm going to touch on, because I might be going crazy this week. So houses are sitting longer than you think on the market. Okay. I have seen a healthy market reemerge over the last 3 or 4 months. Now, you might not call the healthy market because you're not closing anything. That is really, you might see your volume going down, or as a buyer, you might think, oh, well, things have changed, guys. It's not that you can actually breathe now. You can actually go and see a house more than once. Like, you can go and make an offer on a house, and then you can go and see it a second time, and you're not getting knocked out by 15 other people making a bid or whatever it may be. Okay. They're sitting longer. Okay. We need to step up and navigate this for our buyers right now. We need to, as a loan officer, as a professional, you need to let the buyers know that it's not that crazy of a market that it used to be. Now, there may be some homes that are coming to the market that are new that you might still see somewhat of a bidding war, but you're seeing more houses sit. I'm seeing more price cuts. I'm seeing more price adjustments from realtors that I speak to, a lot of the guys that have been in the business a long time. So it's not that crazy market that you remember. Actually, you might have a better chance to get a better deal right now than you ever have, because not only are we in December, which is, historically in January, our 2 slowest times of the year, in the real estate world, but I just think that there's more sellers that are willing to negotiate deals versus what it was even 6 months ago. So if you're out there in the market, and especially in Philly, you have a better shot to negotiate a deal. All right. So don't lose hope. And I even think as we head into 2026, you're going to get a lot more opportunity. You're going to see a lot more people marketing for their houses to be sold in different ways, temporary buy down programs, and just trying to draw buyers in because there's more properties that are sitting longer. Now, you might have some places that say, well, there's no inventory. There are certain towns that I see that have no inventory, right? Because I have a lot of buyers that are pre-approved and they're waiting for a house to go live in that town. So, I think that as we head into 2026, don't be so discouraged that there's, if you have a good realtor that's scoping for you, they're going to find more opportunities. I feel confident about that. So don't lose hope. I think it's going to be a lot better of a market. So I want to wrap up by saying we are heading into a good year. I'm looking for the best of the best to come on the show. I've already had some greats on here, and I may have some return ones that we've had, but I'm looking for more. Okay. Because I think that if you come on this show and you tell us what's going on and you give us the real gist of it, it's not only good for you, but it's good for any of your sphere, any of the buyers that you have or sellers that they like to hear from the professional themselves to find out, what's going on. So don't be discouraged. I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of people to see, how they feel about coming on, but I hope that you will. And I'm excited. I'm excited for a new year. I'm excited for, what's going to happen in 2026. I'm excited for real estate. I think we're going to make a big comeback coming up, so, and if you made it through this, through the last 3 years now, I used to say, and this show was like the first year. Now it was 2 years of this. Now it's been 3 years of this. So if you made it through 3 years of this market where the rates have been, north of 6, then you're going to make it farther. As I leave, and one quick tip that I forgot to tell you, the market has switched where buyers with interest rates, or actually homeowners with interest rates of, 3% or 3% or less, are less now than they were 3 years ago. So buyers that are getting rates that have current rates of 6% or higher have now taken over the market and outnumbered the amount of people that actually have rates of 3% or less. That's huge. That's a big opportunity coming. That shows you that the people with 3% finally said, you know what? I have to move. I have to refinance to get cash out. I have to do this. I'm willing to take a 6% rate because it was a healthy market. The 6% people are starting to outnumber the market. And you know what that means? That means we're turning into a normal market. Where not all these people have 3% and 2%. Like, that is starting to outweigh. I'm seeing it. Okay. Because I'm doing a lot of people's mortgages and I'm seeing that, what rate do you have? 5.5%, 6%, 6.5%, 7%. I'm seeing more of that versus people coming to me saying I have 3% or 3.5% or whatever it may be. Okay, so that's a good sign. That means we're going back to normal, and that's why I'm excited for 2026. So I'll see you next week. Like I said, we're gonna have Anthony Lombardi on. He's on my team. You remember him. Hopefully we get the 1 million views that were promised as he comes on. He's going to bring the fire next week with us too. And then we're going to continue on from there as we go into the new year. So I will see you then, and have a great weekend.